We are Danger Warning Improv. This evening we will be doing for you an improvised Sherlock Holmes story.
Yeah!
Woo! Yeah! We do different genres. We do Star Trek, we do James Bond. Tonight is Sherlock Holmes, but it's not just any Sherlock Holmes. We will be playing all the characters. Actually, I'll be playing Sherlock Holmes, and Troy here will be playing Watson and an assembled cast of thousands using himself, his fetching wigs, and what's more, we will be providing all of our sound effects. What happened? Like that? Explosion. Yes. Very period, I'm sure. So that is the gist of that. Yes. Now, what's going to happen is, in a moment, we're going to send Andy out of the room. And you and I are going to decide some things about the story. We're going to decide how the murder was committed, and then we're going to try to get Andy to guess that when he comes back in. So, everyone say goodbye, Andy! Bye! Fantastic. All right. So, to figure out some of the things we're going to get Andy to guess, the first thing I need to know is, what is a method of murder? How would you murder someone?
With an icicle.
Starving. We get that all the time. Throw them off a building?
Whoa.
Throw them off a building. Throw them off a building. Okay. Throw off a building. Okay, so let me ask you this. How might you throw someone off a building so that you wouldn't get caught?
There's something there that will scare them off the building.
Something so scary they leap off the building. Now, this thing that scares them can't possibly remain in the building, or it would give itself away. What is it? What could it be that it wouldn't be there anymore?
Like a gargoyle.
A lion!
An eagle.
An icicle.
A cheetah!
It's gotta be really scary.
Black Sabbath.
His ex-wife.
Divorce papers.
All right, I heard lion. But how do you get the lion off the building?
Push it off.
Put something that scares it.
The lion is wearing a parachute. It has been trained to leap off the building after it scares its prey. Pulling its shoes. Okay, great. The last thing that I need is some item in your possession. It's going to be a valuable clue in tonight's show. Something you have on you in your pockets, in a purse. I love it. Right here.
Oh.
This.
Kazoo.
Place it under this box here. Okay, great. So here's what's going to happen throughout the course of the show. I'm going to try to get Andy to guess about the clue, to get him to guess about the murder and how it was committed. And you're going to help by letting him know if he's on the right track. So if he's getting there, I want to play off. Let's hear that. If he's pretty darn close, enthusiastic. And if he nails it right on the head, hoop it on! Come back, Andy! Hey! Fantastic! With those suggestions, Danger Warning Improv presents Elementary Dear Holmes. Of all the tales that I, your humble narrator, Dr. John Watson, have written about the great Sherlock Holmes, none was as diabolical and singularly unique as the tale that we are about to tell. For Sherlock Holmes and I found ourselves on top of a building in downtown London.
Watson, the wind is blowing from a distinctly northeasterly angle. This weather vane atop the house has clearly not been cleaned or used within years, for it still points in a southeasterly angle.
Oh, interesting, Holmes.
Showing me that no one has been on this roof for any sort of janitorial service for a fortnight at least.
Mr. Holmes, I suppose you'd like me to tell you about
the death of my employer at this point.
Yes. Cold at our feet as we speak. The mystery shall solve itself, kind sir, so please do relate the details. Yes. Grisly murder to me.
The body did lay at our feet, or where our feet traverse, down there on the street below. It was terrible, Mr. Holmes. I work for a local banker, as you know.
Go on.
Well, the bank is located in the first floor of the building, but Mr. Hammerthorpe likes to come up to the roof midday to get some fresh air.
Yes, Watson, you can see from the cigarette butts left here that he's been doing so for at least 2 years.
Oh, incredible, old man. I feel like a cigarette myself.
Yes, notice he would only smoke half of a cigarette, a man of discipline. Unlike some, Watson. Go on, sir. You were speaking of Mr. Hammerthorpe's untimely demise.
Yes, Mr. Hammerthorpe would come up here to get some fresh air. And of course, I came up one day when he didn't come down to the bank.
That day being today.
Yes. I'm the head teller, you see. My name is Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan. When he didn't return from his usual break, I came up to the roof, and he wasn't here. I looked around, and then I looked down and saw his body below. He had fallen from a great height. The height between the roof and the
Indeed, and yet the question remains, why not a suicide? Why not an accident? What makes you think that this is cold-hearted murder?
Because, Mr. Holmes, Mr. Hammerthorpe was not a well-liked man. And he had been talking about a feeling of being followed for the last week or so. I suspect someone followed him and killed him. But it's incredible, Mr. Holmes. He has the only key to the door to the roof. No one else does. He's the one that unlocks it for the roof cleaning gear. Or for any other business on the roof. He, and he alone!
A private roof, I understand. And I assume that the broken door is the result of your passage when you came to check on him.
Yes, I used my shoulder.
What made you so concerned that you decided to break the door down?
He likes to sing when he's up here, and I did not hear his singing when I approached the door.
Very well, thank you, Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan? You're invaluable.
I do hope you find his murderer, Mr. Holmes. I love the man. I'd say a funny fellow, boy.
Nothing wrong with a show of love between two men, Watson. It's a very platonic and human emotion. But Watson,
The crows!
though we are amongst the streets of London, Watson, upon the roofs, nature is master here. Watson, to our next location, we must investigate this crime quite thoroughly.
Holmes, don't you think that the killer might have left behind a clue?
Watson, he did. There's one clue on this roof that shall be his untimely undoing.
Well, that makes me want to whistle a dandy tune.
Watson, perhaps you would be assisted by this flute.
Where did you find him?
Mr. Hammerthorpe did not just sing, he played the many instruments up on the roof. They're all littered about. Flutes, banjos.
Look, Holmes, a little bird. Oh, look how it flaps its wings so fiercely.
Yes, a hummingbird. Watson.
Yes!
It's very impressive.
A hummingbird.
Yes, Watson, have you ever played the kazoo?
Kazoo, boy! Good house! How did you know the kazoo was up here?
Watson, this instrument, I can tell is not Hammersmith's, for all of the instruments bear the taste of his saliva. This one smells of a check. Quickly, to his local coach's office.
Right away! Winstead.
Watson, listen. The dulcet tunes of a human voice crying out.
And also violin.
Both at the same time in harmony. Any moment, we shall hear it. Any moment. The dulcet tone. You sing a sad song, Mr. Winstead.
I say I didn't have an appointment this afternoon.
We're not here.
No, don't you have any manners? Please close the door.
I am sure you've heard of Mr. Hammerthorpe's untimely demise.
Oh, Hammerthorpe! One of my best pupils! Oh.
Indeed. Perhaps he had become so good he eclipsed you yourself. Perhaps such accomplishment would drive a man to rage.
Why are you accusing me in such a manner?
Because everyone with motive is under my eye, under my glass, and shan't escape my gaze. Mr. Winstead, until proven innocent in my mind, you are a guilty man.
Yes, it's true. He had the voice of a nightingale. I was envious of him. He could probably have quit his job as a banker and gone to sing in the London Opera.
And you never could.
No, I couldn't, Mr. Holmes. I couldn't at all. In fact, the idea of getting on stage in front of hundreds of people terrified me.
Yes, I see the quivering of your lip.
Yes, it scared me to my core, Mr. Holmes. Do you understand? How frightened I was of being on stage alone in front of people?
You're terrified.
Yes!
All right, good. Anything more you want to say to us?
No.
Come, Watson. Away!
But Holmes, why are we walking down the street in such a quick manner?
Watson, I'd like to examine the area under the roof where Hammerthorpe.
Hammerthorpe boy!
Yes, when he fell, he was untimely demise. Look at the cobblestones, freshly paved.
Don't wait! Holmes, oh man! Wild dogs!
Yes, Watson, have no fear. I spent a year in Bournemouth, Watson, in a kennel, learning to communicate with the animal mind.
Incredible. We could have been ripped apart, old man.
Indeed, Watson.
Ripped apart by their jaws.
Torn apart.
So fierce were those animals, they could have torn us apart.
Just into pieces.
Those animals were fierce.
These specific animals.
Well, those animals. Lots of animals are fierce.
Lots of animals. That's true, Watson. Underlying the fact that some animals, logically stated, are fierce while others are not. But not all animals are fierce.
True, old man. But why here? Why examine the street? We know he fell to his death.
Look up, Watson. You see the second-story window?
I do.
Apartments. Apartments owned by a woman who's left her washout to hang.
Look, you can see her visage in the window.
A picture of beauty. Madam!
Yes, you're talking to me.
Yes! Note the French accent, Watson.
Oh, yes, I love French women, oh boy. I love the way they sound.
Watson, there was a letter in Mr. Hammerthorpe's pocket, written in a hand, only identifiable as that of a French woman.
I see. Are you sure he was telling the truth? Are you sure the letter told the truth?
It was a love letter, Watson. They never tell the truth.
out of his bath. Oh, mon Dieu, the door.
May we enter?
Please. Entrez-vous.
Oh, enchanté, madam.
Oh, so polite.
Watson, that's enough. I'm sorry, madam. He's incorrigible. These
I
are...
recognized your form from my window. You are Sherlock Holmes.
a keen eye. What gave me away?
That silly hat.
We recognize your form from the window. You're the mistress of Mr. Antwerp Hammerthorpe. Roger? Roger Antwerp?
He doesn't like that. He never gives out his name.
Yes, and yet you know it.
Shh. No one must know that I was his lover.
Yes, no one. Even he himself, perhaps. Would his knowledge of your affair have been a danger to you to the point that you would have had him killed? Or killed him yourself?
Mr. Holmes?
Perhaps accompanied him out on the roof. He opens the door, you both traipse out for a romantic moment, and then, as he gazes out at the smoky fog of London,
No.
gently whisper in his ear and push him to his untimely death.
Although I love the sound of his whisper, I would not push him off for any reason. Well, maybe for one reason. He promised that he was going to marry me, Mr. Holmes. And just the other night we were having dinner in my favorite cafe, and he told me he couldn't do it.
Because you're a prostitute. I shan't hit the lady.
I say, old boy.
Your hands, Watson. Notice. Too much wear from being on them.
You're saucy. Rawr.
Are you trying to tear me apart like an animal?
Rawr. You're saucy. Rawr.
A veritable lioness.
Mr. Holmes, I have enjoyed this conversation only a little bit. And now I would like you to leave so I can continue my bath.
A little bit. Is that essential?
No.
No.
I say, old boy.
Watson, drive! As quick as you can.
We're here in the carriage, moving very quickly.
Yes.
Oh, but where are we going?
To 221B Baker Street.
That's our place.
Yes, indeed. I have much to ruminate on. I think I've discovered the method of this murder.
Oh, shoot! I wanted to discover it this time.
Well, perhaps you can, Watson.
Oh, shoot! I wanted to discover it.
Did you, Watson?
Dang it!
Well,
Shoot!
Take a banging crack at it. Just pull the trigger on what you know and tell me.
I don't have it all put together. Well, boy, very interesting case, I would say.
Indeed, Watson. A lover who, out of spite, tried to push him to his death. A vocal coach who, out of jealousy, perhaps, driven to murder.
And what about the employee himself?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Watson, I've actually invited him to come speak with us now.
You have? He's ringing the doorbell. How's Mr. Holmes? You wanted to speak to me?
Yes, how much money was in the bank upon the death of Mr. Hammerthorpe?
And he was in the neighborhood of £15,000.
Yes. Was it 15 or was it 20,000? I had to look at the ledgers, Watson. The numbers don't add up.
I'm saying he took the money.
Yes, Watson, he took the money. It's a question now of whether he committed murder for it or not. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Anything else I should know?
I wouldn't murder my employer, Mr. Holmes. you want to know why? Because when I was with him, he made me feel like I could float. He kept me from falling, Mr. Holmes.
Sounds like he filled you up with a lot of hot air.
No. Oh, shoot, he's almost got it. He's almost figured out the crime. Shoot.
Yes. Damn it. Note his silky skin, Watson. And the ripcord coming out of his... He's ready to make an escape out the window! Watson, after him! Watson, you didn't go after him.
I have a bum knee, but I'm not so sure he's a killer. He may have just been scared.
No, it's possible, Watson. But I really do think I've solved this crime. I'd like to tell you.
Coach was terrified of performing.
Terrified, indeed.
We know that his lover was quite a minx.
Indeed, a lioness?
Yes.
Or a minx, which is a totally different animal.
And we know Mr. Sullivan thought the world of his employer. He made him feel like he could float safely in the air.
As if to drift on the wind.
Yes.
Slowly down.
That's right. So what does that tell you, boy?
Watson, I propose that our banker was terrified into jumping off of the roof. And under the quite mistaken impression that he would survive due to the parachute he had upon his person. And when I speak of this parachute, it is purely a metaphorical parachute. Terrified of an animal, Watson.
You suggesting there was an animal on the roof?
Yes, Watson, an animal had been deposited on the roof.
Yes.
Via a parachute.
Probably it wasn't. This is to be discussed now. Well, what animal frightened a man to jump to his death?
I would say a lion in this case.
Mr. Sullivan found no lion when he busted down the door with his shoulder.
No, the lion was a miniature lion. The lion then jumped off and parachuted out.
Who could be so intelligent enough to train a lion to scare his quarry off a roof and then parachute off?
Watson, do you know the phrase, a voice beautiful enough to soothe the savage beast? Are you familiar with that phrase? I asked you a question.
Well, that'll be all, Mr. Holmes. I've been waiting for you. I suspected you would figure it out.
I suspected you suspected I would figure it out. And therefore, Watson, have trained the lion to hide in the cupboard right behind him. Watson, retrieve the gun and call off the lion if you would be so kind.
I don't know how to call it from
I didn't train the
But
lion.
that day was the day I learned that man and beast could live together in perfect harmony. For if one person could tame the beast inside all of us, it was Sherlock Holmes.